Are we live? Are we live right now? Hold up, is it Tuesday already? Is it Tuesday already? Oh my god, it's already Tuesday? Wow. Is it the 4th of July? What's up, guys? It's Mike, a guy who loves Star Wars. We got a lot to talk about tonight regarding Kathleen Kennedy's job and some other Star Wars news as well, but it is the 4th of July. So, I don't know why I did that, but happy Independence Day to everybody here in the United of States. And if you aren't from the United States, well then, happy Tuesday. We got a lot to talk about today regarding the Indiana Jones movie, regarding Kathleen Kennedy losing her job, and regarding who is going to replace her when she inevitably loses said job. So we're going to get into all of it, and we're going to have a lot of fun predicting, speculating, doing all this fun stuff as we like to do here on these streams. So smash a gosh darn like before we get into all of this. Austin, what's up? Ed, what's up? And whoa, what was it? Cinty Fox, what is up? Okay, we got a lot of people in the chat already, so let's see some hype in the chat for this stream first of all while I get this pulled up right here, and then let's talk about what the hell? And let's talk about right away, who do you guys want to see take over Lucasfilm as president after Kathleen Kennedy is gone? Now, I'm not saying Kathleen Kennedy has been fired. That news has not come out yet. But it is looking more and more likely every single day that she will be gone very, very soon. Now, I'm not just sitting here speculating, saying, oh my God, she's going to be gone because I hate her. That's not what's happening here. I'm saying she's going to be gone because I'm looking at the facts. I'm looking at what she's done through her time at Lucasfilm. I'm looking at what's going on at Disney as a company right now. The people they're laying off, like Victoria Alonso at Marvel, they have no fear right now in letting go a person like Kathleen Kennedy. And after Indiana Jones being the way that it was, it seems like she has 7 of her 8 feet out the door. So I'm hoping she's gone. Now, this is not confirmed, and we are just speculating that she is going to be gone, but a lot is kind of on the line right now with Lucasfilm and Disney. Many Star Wars fans, including myself, and I'm sure many of you guys watching right now, will agree with me when I say if Kathleen Kennedy does get fired, we see that as a win. If anybody disagrees with that, tell me in the chat. Do you think Kathleen Kennedy getting fired is a win for Star Wars? Tell me in the chat. Do you think it is a win? Austin wants her gone. Swagger like us, what's up? Swagger says, thank God. Kathleen's creative decisions are a deterrent to creatives via Lucasfilm. Well, yeah, obviously, a lot of people don't want to work with her. Many directors and writers have left work. They've left jobs at Lucasfilm for most likely a Star Wars project because of Kathleen Kennedy. Many examples come to mind with Ron Howard, actually Ron Howard came in and saved the Solo movie, come to mind like, what the hell's her name? What the girl who did Rogue Squadron, what the hell's her name? Did the Wonder Woman movies, completely blanking on her name, but you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. Ed Shelton says, I hope Dave Filoni becomes the heir to Star Wars. Dave Filoni's a good choice. Anybody else? I'm guessing Steven Spielberg. Austin, I think that's very unlikely, just because how old he is, just because I don't think he really wants that job, and I think if they are going to hire somebody to be the president of Lucasfilm, it's most likely going to be somebody who's already working at Lucasfilm. Patty Jenkins, thank you, Ed. Patty Jenkins, yeah. That's the prime example of Kathleen Kennedy's stupidity. That movie was literally already in the works. That movie was already, we already got announced that Patty Jenkins was directing the Rogue Squadron movie, and she literally made a trailer rolling around in her rollerblades talking about her dad, and then it never happened. But who else? Who else do we think could possibly take over Lucasfilm as the president? We're talking about... All right, well, let's put it this way. Could there be somebody who is worse than Kathleen Kennedy? Could somebody come take over Lucasfilm and be worse than Kathleen Kennedy? Or is that just too insane to even think about? I'm working on a full-on video right now. Because this Kathleen Kennedy might be gone very, very soon. Anthony, what's up? Anthony says, Mike, well, there's an emergency meeting occurring over at Lucasfilm Ltd. on July 5th, which is tomorrow, supposedly helmed by Alan Bergman, not including Kathleen Kennedy, supposedly puts her in crosshairs. Wow, Anthony, where are you seeing that from? I have not seen that yet, but I have no reason to disagree with you. Now, it does seem like Lucasfilm is in a state of panic right now. They thought Indiana Jones was going to do a lot better than it currently is, and it's not. So Indiana Jones is performing very, very poorly, and whether or not you like the movie or not, there's no disagreeing with me there. I haven't seen the movie, and if you guys have seen the movie, tell me what you thought about the movie in the chat, but if I'm talking about Indiana Jones, of course, Indiana Jones 5. If you've seen it, tell me in the chat what you thought about it. I have yet to see it. I do plan on seeing it at some point. I'm just not in any rush to go out and see it. But it is performing poorly. And regardless of how you feel about the movie, it is performing poorly. So, with that being said, Kathleen Kennedy is, like Anthony's saying, in the crosshairs right now. She has failed over and over and over and over again, and I think Disney is done with this. I think Disney has finally said this is enough, and we can't handle the loss of money anymore. We can't. Austin Snow says, I saw it and it was terrible. Really? Like bad? Here's my thing. It's James Mangold. James Mangold is directing this movie. The guy who gave us Logan. The guy who gave us Ford versus Ferrari. This guy is a really, really good director. And he's supposed to get the Dawn of the Jedi movie, one of the next Star Wars movies. So he's a really, really good director. You have Harrison Ford, who's amazing. It's Indiana Jones, a legendary character. How do they fail so miserably? What went wrong? And maybe, Austin, you could tell me, because I haven't seen it yet, but what went wrong? Like, really, what went wrong? Ed says, J.J. Abrams would be worse than Kathleen Kennedy. J.J. Abrams would definitely be worse than Kathleen Kennedy. But J.J. Abrams is more of just a director. He's not really up for the role. But I did say who would be worse. Yes. That is true. Star Wars Politics. What's up? Star Wars Politics says, at this point, the Disney board has to act in the best interest of business. That's very, very true. They're a publicly traded company. Now, what does that mean? They're publicly traded. What does publicly traded mean? It means that people invest in their company, meaning people's money, just random people like me and you guys, can invest in this company, and we want our money to be put to good use. And as a business, they are legally obligated to try to make money. Legally obligated. So they have to do what's in the best interest of their stockholders. And that's why you always hear stock meetings. And that's where we get all the announcements from. That's when they announce all the projects at these stock meetings, because they want people to feel reassured that they're doing something to make money. And like Star Wars Politics is saying here, Disney now has to do what's best for their business, which, in my opinion, is get rid of freaking Kathleen Kennedy. And maybe that's not the move, and maybe that is the move, but they keep continuing to lose money on project after project after project. Some YouTuber, I don't remember who, I don't know who, and I don't know if it's even real. But even if it's close to being real, it's insanity. Somebody did the math over the last, I think it was 8 or 9 releases from Disney, something along those lines, over the last couple of years, something like that. And they lost $900 million. These are off movie releases, not Disney Plus, movie releases. So they're just losing money left and right. And think about the movies that they've come out with in the last year or two. The Lightyear movie, horrendously bad. What was that one back in November that was like a Pixar or like an animated movie that nobody watched because it was so woke that like nobody even knew it existed? It's called like Strange Worlds or something like that. That bombed horrendously bad. The newest one that came out a few weeks ago, Elementals, that bombed historically bad. Like, they got to get something right here. And Indiana Jones was supposed to be that thing, and it didn't happen. Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did perform pretty well. Ant-Man did not. Trying to think, Wakanda Forever performed all right, I guess, not to the to the extent of the first one and not to the extent of what I'm sure the studio and the company wanted it to. And Star Wars has been out of the theaters for 4 years. 4 years. So it is a struggle right now at Disney. But politics, you are absolutely correct. Disney board has to act in the best interest of their stockholders. And that is getting rid of Kathleen Kennedy. Somebody's got to get a count on how many times I say Kathleen Kennedy in this stream, because it's going to be a lot. And I'm going to lose my voice, so I got to drink some water. Okay. Anthony says, technically, based on the results of the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, the Mandoverse, and Tales of the Jedi, he, at the very best, the spiritual heir to Star Wars, he's currently creative director. He's talking about Dave Filoni there. Yes, he created the Clone Wars, he created Rebels, he created The Mandalorian, Tales of the Jedi, The Bad Batch, all of it. He created some of the best Star Wars there is. He is supposed to be the heir to the Empire. No pun intended. He is currently executive creative director, but that is not a big enough role as most people would think. So here's my thing with Dave Filoni being in charge, and here's where I'm going to debunk him ever being in charge. Dave Filoni is a creative genius. He's a creative genius. The stuff he's done with the Clone Wars, the stuff he's created with the Mortis arc, now you could argue that it was George Lucas as well. The two of them combined did that. But even when it comes to just Dave Filoni in Rebels, creates the world between worlds, does all this other cool fun stuff with Force Ghosts and all that other stuff in Star Wars Rebels, has the Bendu in Star Wars Rebels, introduces Thrawn into Star Wars canon via animation, and of course The Mandalorian. One of the best episodes in season 2 of The Mandalorian is The Jedi, which introduces Ahsoka into live action, and that is all directed and written by Dave Filoni. Tales of the Jedi, again, is a perfect example of just six episodes, something like that. 6 episodes, all about 15 minutes long, not even 10 to 15 minutes long, that are extraordinary stories in just 10 minutes. He is a master. He is a genius, creative genius. Now, the problem that I have with him becoming the president of Lucasfilm is his creative geniusnicity, it's a word, look it up, is now not used to create the product and is used to delegate and do presidential duties at Lucasfilm, and we don't want that. We don't want that. We want Dave Filoni on the set. We want Dave Filoni creating. We want Dave Filoni directing. We want Dave Filoni writing. We don't want Dave Filoni in charge. Because look at Kathleen Kennedy. We know that she interferes with a lot of stuff. She has say of who's directing. She has say of who's writing. She did put together John and Dave, and that's one of the greatest accomplishments of her entire career, is just putting these two guys together. But she has done a lot in interfering with projects and this, that, and the other thing. But she is not sitting there writing the scripts. She's not sitting there directing the movies. She's not doing any of that. That means Dave Filoni would not be doing any of that. That means Kevin Feige is not doing any of that. So we don't want Dave Filoni there. As much as I would love to see him be the next president of Lucasfilm, just for a PR standpoint, or just as a fan of Star Wars and a fan of Dave Filoni, it would be great to see him get that role. We want him. We need him in the studio. We need him writing the stories. We need him creating. And that's why I think Dave Filoni is not the answer to who should be who should replace Kathleen Kennedy. He's not the answer. Austin says twice Dave Filoni is the best. He is the best. No, don't get me wrong there. He is awesome. And I want him creating literally every Star Wars project. If he could be the showrunner for The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Acolyte, Skeleton Crew, and or season 2, do it. Absolutely do it. If you have to go to 2 shows a year just to get Dave Filoni just on each project, do it. It would be the best decision that Lucasfilm has ever made. Interesting. I'm going to get to that in a second, Ed. Hang on. So, where was I? Star Wars Politics says James Gunn, and I'm guessing you're referring to who would be worse than Kathleen Kennedy. What do we think about James Gunn? Obviously, James Gunn, it would be impossible. He's not, as far as I know, he's not really a Star Wars fan, but he's also now the CEO of DC, so he's pretty busy right now, so he would not be able to do that. But just going on a quick side tangent, because that's all we do here. What do we think about James Gunn being the CEO of DC? Any DC fans out there? Any DC fans out there? Any DC fans out there? What about the cast of Superman? Did you see that? Anybody like that cast of Superman? All right, we're getting way too off topic. Austin says yes. You think he's going to be good? All right, we're getting way too off topic. I'm going back to Star Wars. Okay. Ed says, the camera work and CGI in Indy 5 were bad. Really? The CGI was bad, Ed? Are you serious? Do you know how much money they spent on that movie for the CGI to be bad? Almost $300 million. We're going to get into an article on how stupid this movie is in a minute. So, yeah, we'll get into that in a second. But that's crazy that you said that, because I haven't seen the movie, obviously, so I can't say for myself. But if you're right, that is bad. That is really bad. That is $300 million. $300 million. Okay. Star Wars Politics says, Taika Waititi, I think I can think of a lot of people worse for Star Wars. True. Yes, there's a lot of bad people in Hollywood that would be worse than Kathleen Kennedy, for sure. But more of, to my point, politics is, who would they actually hire that would be worse than Kathleen Kennedy? Like, how stupid would they have to be to hire James Gunn or Taika Waititi to be the president of Lucasfilm? Now, I know you're going to say, well, they hired Kathleen Kennedy, but actually that was George's decision. George was the one who put in Kathleen Kennedy, so probably the worst decision he ever made in his life, but, he couldn't tell the future. Star Wars Politics follows up and says, some of this has to do with Disney's desire to engage in the culture. They have to go back to the basics. And this can be done in a way appealing to everyone. Yeah, they for sure are just trying to bring in wokeness-city, sure, if that's a word. And they're trying to do all this stupid stuff, but they can clearly tell that that's not working anymore. If you're looking out from a distance and looking at Lucasfilm and looking at their last few projects, you can tell that that just isn't the answer. Disney, even as a brand, the Strange New Worlds or Strange Worlds, whatever the hell that animated movie that came out last November was, that lost like all of its money. There's a reason why these movies lose money. And it's not rocket science. I say that all the time on these streams. It's not rocket science. And I feel like our community here is a lot smarter than the majority of people working at Lucasfilm at this point, because of just the straight up stupidity that comes out from them. And you have to blame the higher ups in Bob Iger at Disney and Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm. And there has to be a change, for sure. Austin Snow says, KK is a woman that doesn't have any idea what she is doing. Yes. I can confirm that. Yes. Anthony says, I'm fine with George, Dave, and John sitting in a room and spitballing ideas for the Star Wars universe. Better than pretty much all of Lucas Story Group's ideas. Here's the thing, Anthony, and not to just crap all over your idea. Here is the thing. And I just said it's not rocket science 2 seconds ago, but I'm saying it again. It's not rocket science. You have 3 extraordinary creatives at your disposal. In George Lucas, Dave Filoni, and Jon Favreau. Now, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau work together all the time on The Mandalorian. They do it. They're creating this Mandoverse time period in between episode 6 and episode 7. They're trying to fix the sequel trilogy, all this, that, and the other thing. And now Dave Filoni's getting his own movie. It's great. But why? Why on earth are the two of these people, John and Dave, and of course George Lucas, the creator himself, not involved in every single decision that is made at Lucasfilm? At least from a creative standpoint. Maybe the business side, they don't have to be involved at all. But creatively, why are they not involved in the Acolyte show? Why are they not involved in what's going on in the High Republic books even? Why are they not involved in every single freaking thing that happens? Why? Why? I don't understand. It's not rocket science. I sound like a broken record, but it's really not. And Anthony has a great point. Why not just have John, George, and Dave, easy for me to say, sit in a room and just come up with ideas? Who is that going to hurt? Nobody. It's only going to create great stories and help the Star Wars fandom, help the Star Wars brand in many different ways. Because now you can put George Lucas's name right on the front and center. George Lucas helped create this. That's what they've been lacking. Because of what they did with the sequel trilogy, George wants nothing to do with it. Nothing. However, he has been on the set for each season of The Mandalorian because he knows Dave Filoni is going to do it right. Star Wars Politics says, do you think it's because they want to get content out fast and John and Dave can't do all that? Maybe, but I would rather them slow down and give us great content than just spit out nonsense. It's the same thing with Marvel. Marvel had a problem and they're fixing it. Their problem was they're releasing too many projects. They went from 2 to 3 movies a year and 2 to 3 fantastic stories that were all interconnected, and it was the Infinity Saga, and it all ended up in an Infinity War and Endgame, and it was a fantastic story. Then they got Disney Plus. Then they were having 3 to 4 movies each year and 3 to 4 Disney Plus shows each year, spreading themselves way too thin, and the shows just weren't that good. Star Wars can learn from that. Star Wars can learn from that right now. They can learn from that right this very second. Have 2 shows come out a year, maybe 3, if you have the time to make them good. If you have the time for the right creatives like John and Dave to be involved in every step of the way. There is no reason for them to come out with 5 projects a year on Disney Plus or 2 movies and 4 TV shows on Disney Plus. There's no reason for that. I'm honestly a little bit concerned now that the movie that was supposed to come out in 2025 has been pushed back to 2026, and now we will get 2 Star Wars films in 2026. I don't think that's a good idea. I don't. I think you should spread out each movie, at least just have 1 movie a year until you get on the right track where you have great content coming out consistently. We don't want crappy content, a whole lot of crappy content. We want great content consistently, but it doesn't have to be close together. You can have 1 to 2 to 3 projects a year that are all just fantastic, and fans will be happier than if you have crappy content after crappy content after crappy content. So to answer your question, Star Wars Politics, do I think it's because they want content to come out faster? That's why they're not using John and Dave? Yes. And I think it's the wrong approach, like the really wrong approach, for sure. For sure. Ed says, do you think that George Lucas could replace Kathleen Kennedy? No, I don't think at all. Because first of all, he's 80 and doesn't want to do that. But second of all, he's so scarred and so hurt by what they did to his baby, Star Wars that is, that I don't think any amount of money in the world would be enough to lure George Lucas back to this company. Yeah, leaving it like that. Right there. Ed says, before Iron Man, I was a bigger DC fan than Marvel. I think we have to see what James Gunn can do with DC first. Of course, he's talking about James Gunn being the CEO of DC. Yeah, so DC obviously has the bigger characters, Batman and Superman. They're bigger than any Marvel character there is, other than maybe Spider-Man. But yeah. You have to remember, Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, those are your big 3 in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They are not 3 big comic characters. They aren't. Marvel's biggest characters are the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and Spider-Man. By far. So the way that Marvel took off from Iron Man was huge. Iron Man was not a big character. Well, he is now, but he was not a big character. So now, of course, building on that back. Going back to Star Wars, we could talk about Marvel and DC all day long. Ed says, in Indiana Jones 5, they have a segment of a 30-something Indiana Jones. The CGI face they put for the de-aging was just bad. Wow. So they did a lot to get that de-aged Harrison Ford in that movie. Like a ton. They did so much. I just got distracted. Austin says, George Lucas needs a hug. Yeah. Let's all go give George Lucas a hug. Let's do it. Where was I? Yes, Ed talking about Indiana Jones 5. Yeah. So that de-aging technology was supposed to be what brought us into Star Wars. So connecting all the lines. Indiana Jones was doing this giant de-aging technology thing on Harrison Ford to make Indy younger. And that's what they did. And this was kind of supposed to be a test, somewhat a test of, can we do the de-aging technology for a whole movie? Now, it wasn't the whole movie that they did it, but it was a test because Dave Filoni is creating this Heir to the Empire movie where we want to see Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, and Han Solo, of course, a lot younger. So we've talked about this on stream many, many times before. Should they be recast or should they continue the deepfake? And now, after Indiana Jones came out and Ed is saying that this de-aging sucked, then it should be a recast. It should be. And I'm all for it. And I'm perfectly okay with not spending all that money on deepfake. And I'm perfectly okay with all that other stuff. Good cups follow orders. I'm not at the good cup yet, politics, but it's waiting on the side if you want a sneak peek. Oh, okay. I'm not out of this cup yet. Oh wait, I'm on the last sip. Dun dun. Okay. Now it's the good cup that follows orders. Where was I? Ed says the eyes moved weird. And sometimes the chin and ears would stretch when he turned his face. That's bad. How can you release that as a product? I don't get it. I just don't get it. How do you release a bad deepfake as a product? Here's the thing. The Book of Boba Fett, as much as people crap on it, that deepfake Luke in that show was unbelievable. And you think about the small budget that John and Dave get for each show on Disney Plus, that Luke in the Book of Boba Fett, which is for like 30 minutes, does not get enough applause or enough love that it should. That is extraordinary. Extraordinary. Worse than Grief Karga's Funko Pop. Politics, I'm so glad you're back, and I'm so glad that you remembered that, because I honestly forgot about that, and that is hilarious. And I don't know if I could ever find that again, but let me try. Grief Karga. It wasn't a Funko Pop, it was something else. It was like a Funko Pop, though. We'll put in Funko Pop, see if it comes up. Funko Pop. No, it wasn't the Funko Pop. It was something else. It was like a keychain or something. Let's see. Keychain. Let's see. Oh, yep, found it. Oh, this is so legendary. If you guys weren't here for this stream, this was months and months ago, but this is the greatest thing you'll probably ever see in your life, so get ready. And I'm not overhyping this. Just get ready. This could be the single greatest moment of your entire lives. Okay? And that is not overhyping this moment. Are you ready? Are you ready? I need some readies in the chat before you guys get to witness this greatness. This is Grief Karga. This is Grief Karga, by the way. So keep that in mind when you see this. Grief Karga. From The Mandalorian, Season 3. Carl Weathers. Grief Karga. Jay Higgins was born ready. All right, let's do it. Who, like, Carl Weathers should sue this company immediately. This is this is brand damage. This is bad. This is torture. This is honestly, I might become a lawyer just so I can win millions of dollars for Carl Weathers to get his due for this. Worse than that? Yeah, so Ed in Austin and people who have seen Indiana Jones 5, is the deepfake technology on Harrison Ford worse than this? Worse than that, right there. Is it worse? 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 I'd certainly hope not. All right, where was I? Where was I? Let's see. Jay Higgins says, do you think if Kathleen Kennedy wasn't in charge, they would actually make Star Wars movies instead of announcing them and just talking about them? Well, yes. Yes, I do. So I think Kathleen Kennedy is a big problem when it comes to getting movies done. Like we just talked about earlier, Patty Jenkins, and it might have been before you came to the stream, but Patty Jenkins is the perfect example. She literally comes out on roller skates, does this whole story about her dad and how she wants to make this movie for him, blah, blah, blah. And then that movie gets canned because directors, creatives, they don't want to work with Kathleen Kennedy. She's a pain in the ass to work with. And that's why you get Rian Johnson's coming in and creating The Last Jedi. And that's why you have Colin Trevorrow having to leave episode 9. You have all these different problems because of Kathleen Kennedy and nobody in Hollywood wanting to work with her. So yes, I do believe if somebody else was in charge, more Star Wars movies would be created and more creatives would want to work for Star Wars. Star Wars is the biggest IP on the planet, okay? Other than, what was it? Somebody said this in the chat the other day. They were like, Star Wars is not the biggest IP. It's like Hello Kitty or something. Other than Hello Kitty, Star Wars is the biggest IP on the planet. And people in Hollywood used to scratch, claw, and kill their way to maybe not kill their way, to get a role in Star Wars or to become a creative in Star Wars or just to become a director or writer or anything on a Star Wars set. And now people are running away from Star Wars. Nobody wants to be attached to Star Wars. And that's all because of one person by the name of Kathleen Kennedy. So yes, I do believe if she's gone, a lot does get better. You know? Swagger Like Us says, the sequel trilogy, Indiana Jones 5 and Willow never should have happened. Lucas is a creative genius who created 205 patents. He's on a creative level most individuals in Hollywood could never attain. Yes, very true. And he created this entire company called Lucasfilm with Willow, with Indiana Jones, and with Star Wars. And what did Kathleen Kennedy do to all three but annihilate them? Annihilate them. The sequel trilogy was so damaging to the brand that you have a completely divided Star Wars fan base now. You have Indiana Jones 5, which is bombing miserably, and you have Willow that was taken off of Disney Plus 8 months after it was released. Literally, it doesn't exist anymore. They created this show off of Willow, which was a hit movie in the 80s, and it doesn't exist anymore after 8 months. Whew. Crazy. Brittany, what's up? Brittany says, Favreau would be the best option for Prez, in my opinion. Favreau. Here's my thing with Jon Favreau, okay? My thing with Jonathan Favreau. I wonder if his full name is Jonathan. Jonathan Favreau. Here's my thing with him. He created Iron Man. Started out the MCU, this, that, and the other thing. He did not become an executive producer for Marvel. He did not do whatever. He went to Star Wars, or actually first he created the Jungle Book and created The Lion King in live action. But he is a lot like George Lucas, where he wants to keep innovating the industry. He created Iron Man. In 2008, the CGI in Iron Man holds up today. It's probably better than Indiana Jones 5's CGI. So he is a innovator. Even the Jungle Book, the amount of CGI in that with the live animals, the Lion King, it's a talking freaking lion, and you feel like it's a lion. It's kind of crazy. But even when it comes to Star Wars, the volume we've seen used in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show where Jon has no input on it, and it looks bad. You see the volume in The Mandalorian, it looks fantastic because Jon Favreau knows how to innovate the industry. He's a lot like George Lucas. With all that being said, again, I don't think he wants this job. As much as I thought Dave Filoni should get the job, but should also be in the creative field, directing, writing, and doing all that stuff on the projects, I think Jon Favreau, just plain and clearly, does not want the job at all. Doesn't want the job. He just doesn't. And honestly, why would he? It could be the worst job in Hollywood right now, to attain, at least. Coming off of the back of Kathleen Kennedy, it could be the worst job in Hollywood right now. So I don't think Jon wants to touch that job with a 10-foot pole. And I think he wants to continue to create and innovate the industry. And maybe whether that's through Star Wars or whether that goes to a different thing. I'm hoping it's Star Wars, but maybe it's to a different thing. You know. But yeah, Brittany, I think Jon Favreau would make a great president for sure, but I don't think he wants the job. Anthony says, meanwhile, why hasn't Star Wars Underworld been greenlit? Lucas and his writing team already has 52 written scripts all ready to be filmed in 2010. Streaming makes it possible, yet we have Andor instead. That's very true. Star Wars Underworlds is kind of like the big what if from George Lucas, and I'm sure many Star Wars fans would love to see that being made. I agree, Anthony. Jay Higgins, by the way, I love the fact that your profile picture is an Angry Bird. Jay Higgins. It's awesome. Jay Higgins says, remember when we had Solo in The Last Jedi in the same year? History is repeating. Oh, don't say that. Were they in the same year? Were they in the same year? I thought they went like every other year. Was Solo in The Last Jedi in the same year? Somebody fact check him on that. Not that I think you're wrong, Jay Higgins. Just want a second opinion. But yeah, I see history repeating itself then. Definitely. If the Rey movie is the first movie that comes out in 2026, we are in big doo-doo this time. Big doo-doo. Swagger Like Us says, part 2. Oh, part 2 to what? Where was your part 1? Did you put a part 1? Part 2. Disney should have the original ideas from him. Who? Oh. Wait, what? Part 2 to what? Whatever. Disney should have got the original ideas from George Lucas and make a new original content for films and Disney Plus. George Lucas' imagination is paramount, is Shanguru sure of Nintendo. Oh, the guy who created Nintendo. Yes. Mario and Zelda creator. Yes. He is the creator, obviously. So yes, they should have him creating new content for Disney. What did they do instead? They neglected him completely as soon as they sold him the company, and now he doesn't want anything to do with them. So yeah. There you go. Austin says, George Lucas needs a hug. Yeah, he does. Very, very true. Who else could play Princess Leia? Well, there you go. Let's open that up to the class. Who else do you think should play Princess Leia if there was to be a recast? Not deepfake. So, not deepfake, an actual recast. Who do we think? Ed says Millie Bobby Brown. I've heard that one before. Maybe it was from you, Ed. Millie Bobby Brown's a pretty good choice when it comes to Leia. Swagger Like Us says, the Indy trilogy was perfect. It was an 80s phenomenon. To bring it back was a prime example of Hollywood creating bankruptcy. Yes. Well, here's the thing. George Lucas did create the fourth one. George Lucas did create Crystal Skull. So as bad as people think Crystal Skull was, and I actually don't think it was all that bad, but it is George Lucas's still. And Lucasfilm was kind of going bankrupt at the time, so you can't really blame him, but yeah. Star Wars Politics says, worse than Grief Karga Funko Pop? Oh, we already talked about that. Where was I? Oh, Jay Higgins says, I saw someone on Reddit say that having your Star Wars project canned is a rite of passage in the industry, in the entertainment industry. That is sad. That is just sad. Honestly, when did it become the rite of passage for a Star Wars project to get canned? There was a time where literally being on a Star Wars project was the biggest accomplishment of your career. And now here we are. Austin Snow says, the MCU is so successful and they are so good. Very true. We need Dave Filoni to make movies. Well, Dave Filoni is making a movie. He is. It is true. He is. So hopefully that movie stays and actually makes sense. And yeah, there we go. Swagger Like Us says, the question is, where is the generation's George Lucas, Tolkien, Spielberg, Stan Lee, etc.? This is the worst era in Hollywood, so by far. Yeah, so I mean, you have Tolkien, you have Stan Lee, you have George Lucas, you have generations of talent. Where is this generation's talent? Maybe they're sitting at home trying to make a YouTube channel. Maybe they can't get off the ground. Maybe they're doing something else. Maybe they were pushed away from the industry because Hollywood's such a stupid political place. I don't know. Maybe they're out there somewhere. And maybe It's one of you. Austin Snow says, oh, sorry. Ed says, Solo was released May 10th of 2018, and The Last Jedi was released December of 2017. So technically in the same calendar year, or well, in separate calendar years, but in the same 12 months. Yes, there you go. Within the same year, yes. Yes. Anthony says, I'm sure Zack Snyder thought it was quintessential, I'm guessing is what you meant, that Kathleen and the story group rejected his Star Wars movie around 2012, 2013. Now, his would-be Star Wars film, Rebel Moon, comes out in September. Lost money. It's true. That Rebel Moon is going to be an extremely big hit for Netflix now, but it could have been an extremely big hit for Lucasfilm and Disney and Star Wars. And Zack Snyder, I mean, look at the fan base that he has riled up from the DC universe. Snyder fans, they're insane. They literally got the Snyder Cut to finally be released, a 4-hour movie of the Justice League. They are crazy fans. And you would want those fans to come watch Star Wars because of Zack Snyder, no? Yeah, that's a big mistake. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. I have an article pulled up for that as well. Yes. Austin Snow says, Rogue One is the best because it starts before A New Hope. Well, I don't know if it's because it starts before A New Hope, but it is a very, 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 very good movie. I've been talking to a lot of people in DMs recently about like their favorite Star Wars movie or their favorite this, that, or the other thing. And a lot of people say Revenge of the Sith. A lot of people say Return of the Jedi. A lot of people say Empire Strikes Back. But usually in their top 3 is Rogue One. And Rogue One is a Disney Star Wars movie. But it just stands alone as just that diamond in the coal mine. It's really just that glimmer of hope in this Disney Star Wars era. It's true. That movie is spectacular. Jay Higgins says, it's okay to have a younger Leia in Obi-Wan, I guess, but no one can be Carrie Fisher except for Carrie Fisher. So Jay Higgins, then I ask with a follow-up, do you think that it should be deepfake? Do you think they should spend all that money to deepfake Leia if they want to bring her back in this Mandoverse era? Spend all that money and maybe it doesn't even look good? The Indiana Jones did not look good. Star Wars Politics says, since The Last Jedi, question for the class, is The Last Jedi really that bad? Here's the thing. I have an answer for you. I do. Over the weekend, Star Wars was on the television. I know. Cable television. Who watches that? I'm 100. I get it. I'm a million years old. Cable television. I was watching cable television. I know. Crazy. But I watched The Force Awakens. Almost the entire thing. The Force Awakens. I think I missed the beginning. The Force Awakens is a quality movie. It's not better than 4, 5, 6. It's not better than 3. By all means, not better than 3. But you can make the argument that it is as good, if not better, than The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. The Force Awakens is a quality movie. It's really, really good. The CGI is fantastic. The character development is really, really good. It sets up Snoke. Now, I know what you're saying. The next 2 movies destroyed that, but take that out of your mind for a second. Pretend you've never seen The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker for one quick second. The Force Awakens sets up all these characters in a fantastic way. Luke's gone missing, you don't know why. Snoke is this new big bad, you don't know who he is. Kylo Ren was trained by Luke, turned against him. What happened with Han and Leia? Why does C-3PO have a red arm? That's the biggest question of them all. But it's really a quality movie and sets up these characters for so much success. Here's why The Last Jedi is so bad. I went on to watch The Last Jedi right after because, again, cable television, it was on right after. And what happened was The Last Jedi took every single thing. Who is Snoke? Why was Luke in hiding? What happened to Han and Leia? Who is Rey's parents? Kylo Ren's story even. Why C-3PO had a red arm? Never answered that. It took all of those story threads and literally just said, F you, and kicked them off a cliff. Literally did, in the opening scene, what Luke Skywalker does, grabs the lightsaber, throws it over his head. That one scene is the equivalent of the entire Last Jedi movie. It took the entire Star Wars universe and just tossed it aside. It took every bit of lore and knowledge that we had about these characters, Luke, Leia, Han, Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo Ren, Snoke, every little bit of speculation, every little bit of knowledge that we had about these characters, and threw it away. Absolutely threw it into the garbage. And it was bad, it was sad, and it was honestly the worst thing that's ever happened to the Star Wars brand. Now, there's a lot of people out there that really like that movie. They like the direction that they took all these different characters in. And you could argue that Kylo Ren is extremely good in that movie. You could argue that this, that, or the other thing. You could argue that you needed to see Luke Skywalker be that way. You could argue a million different things about The Last Jedi. Doesn't matter. It split the Star Wars fan base way worse than anything has ever split the Star Wars fan base before. And to this day, it's still talked about as not the worst Star Wars movie ever, because a lot of people still like that movie. It's still talked about as the moment that the Star Wars fan base completely divided, and we've never come back. We've never come back from that. And we never will. The Last Jedi will always exist. It's always going to be canon. No matter how many people DM me on Instagram and say that the sequel trilogy isn't canon, it will remain to be canon. Meaning The Last Jedi is not going anywhere. The next Star Wars movie we're getting, guys, is a Rey movie. It's an extension of the sequel trilogy. So to end my tangent, because I love talking about the sequel so much, The Last Jedi was really that bad. And it wasn't that bad as a movie. Maybe it was to you, maybe it wasn't to you, but it was that bad for the Star Wars brand. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Austin says, my favorite Star Wars movies are Revenge of the Sith, Rogue One, and Return of the Jedi. RRR. Maybe they should just start all of the movies with an R. Oh, Rise of Skywalker. Bet you didn't like that one, Austin, huh? No, those are great picks. They're all in my top 5 for sure. For sure. Jay Higgins says, maybe just don't do Leia whatsoever. They could let her rest. They could let the dead rest in peace. Well, they've already done Leia in Kenobi. They recasted her as a little girl, but they already deepfaked her in Rise of Skywalker and in Rogue One. And also, actually, just to, whatever. They also had Leia in a bunch of episodes of Star Wars Rebels. So, I don't know. I feel like you can't do Heir to the Empire without Princess Leia. Princess Leia is such an important role when it comes to the Resistance, when it comes to the New Republic. She is such an important role that you can't do it without her. You just can't. I just don't see a world where you could, Yeah, I take it back. That's a good point. Okay, well, I didn't mean to poo-poo your idea, but yeah, that's just how I feel. Jay Higgins says, Episode 7 was my favorite Star Wars film. It was my first one I've seen in the theaters. The Han Solo death was so powerful. That's very true. I was watching it on the television, on cable television. I know, cable television, right? I know, crazy. But yeah, even still watching it on TV, that Han Solo death does hit hard. It does. That movie's spectacular. It really is. It's a very solid movie. I could argue it's my 5th favorite Star Wars movie. Could. Behind the original 3 and Revenge of the Sith, actually, Rogue One. It's probably 6. It's probably 6. Yeah. All right, let's get into this article. Oh my God, we're at 50 minutes almost. Let's get into this article about Indiana Jones and how it's just bad. It's real bad, and it's bombing horribly, and why it is the end of Kathleen Kennedy. So let's get back on this train, and let's get a round of applause in the chat, please. And I know this is a Star Wars channel. We're talking about Indiana Jones, Mike. Oh, you're so smart. It has everything to do with Star Wars because Kathleen Kennedy should be fired after this. All right, here we go. Oh, well, that doesn't help. That is that good? Let's see. Perfect. Okay. 10 reasons Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny bombed at the box office, breaking down Disney's $295 million flop. may I repeat myself, $295 million. There we go. Should I zoom in a little bit more? Let's zoom in a little bit more. Actually, that made it worse. Actually, wait. Now that made it worse. Zoom back out. Zoom back out. Is that good? You guys can read that, right? You guys can read that, right? You guys can read that, right? All right. Disney's $295 million box office flop with Indiana Jones: The Dial of Destiny bombed for several significant reasons. The highly anticipated Indiana Jones 5 was kicked around for a while in the development stages before finally seeing the light of day in 2023. 15 years after the last installment, even after the incredible length of time Disney and Lucasfilm had to orchestrate Indiana Jones 5, the blockbuster failed to win over both critics and moviegoers on its worldwide opening weekend. With no official plans set for Indiana Jones 6, thank God, just let the past die. I hate to sound like Kylo Ren, but just let the past die. Okay. The box office bomb of Dial of Destiny will certainly leave a sour taste in the mouths of many fans of the franchise, as well as Disney. If Indiana Jones 5 is any indication of whether another sequel is likely to happen anytime soon, then it is not looking very promising so far. Director James Mangold. Now, this is the worst part about this. James Mangold is a fantabulous director. A fantabulous. It's a word. Look it up. Director, and he is set to do Dawn of the Jedi, which is supposed to be one of the next Star Wars movies. And I was so excited to go back to the origins of the Jedi. Now, this movie flopping this badly might end up with us losing this James Mangold movie. We saw what happened with Taika Waititi when Thor: Love and Thunder failed so miserably, he lost his movie. We saw what happened with Patty Jenkins when Wonder Woman 2 failed so miserably, she lost her movie. This might just happen again. And I hate to see it happen with a guy like James Mangold because he's so good, and I know he would be awesome with Star Wars. But director James Mangold has hinted that the iconic character's future is still very much alive after Dial of Destiny. I need a sip of water. I am losing my voice. Okay. Which might add fuel to the fire if Ford is not involved in that project. Here are 10 main reasons as to why Indiana Jones 5 is such a box office failure. Now we're going to fly through these 10 reasons because there's 10 of them, but here we go. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's budget gave it a huge box office challenge. So the box office of this Indiana Jones was higher than any other previous Indiana Jones movie with $295 million. Million, which is insane. To put that into perspective, The Flash had a $200 million budget, almost $100 million less, and that movie was horse garbage. Okay. Blah 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 blah. Crystal Skull had a budget of $185 million, with inflation is 279, which is a lot, apparently. Jeez, that's crazy. But it was able to make 4 times the amount. And this movie will not. So although that movie did cost a lot to make, Crystal Skull that is, it made $1.18 billion. And this movie will not do that. So Kingdom of the Crystal Skull made people skeptical of Indiana Jones. So this just goes on to talk about how Crystal Skull was not good. And the original trilogy for Indiana Jones back in the 80s was so good that it brought in a lot of eyes to Indiana Jones, a lot like The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens brought a lot of eyes back to Star Wars because of the prequel trilogy and the original trilogy. People just loved Star Wars, so they were going to go see it regardless of how good it was. And it was good. But the Crystal Skull was not good. So whatever the next Indiana Jones movie was going to be was going to make less money. Number 8, Indiana Jones 5 was the first movie without Spielberg directing. So this was just the biggest stupidity of all time. And as much as I love James Mangold because he directed Logan, Ford vs. Ferrari, and all these other big hits, Steven Spielberg is the guy who directs Indiana Jones. It should be as simple as that. They should not have made a movie without him. Even if Mangold's this great director, as I say he is, still shouldn't have happened. Shouldn't have happened. Number 7, Indiana Jones 5 faced unusual stiff competition at the summer box office. Now, this is just stupid. So, before the summer officially began, 2023 saw Fast X, John Wick 4, Creed 3, Super Mario Bros., Dungeons & Dragons, Honor Among Thieves, Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and Dial of Destiny's opening weekend. It was entering an already very competitive circuit, including Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Transformers Rise of the Beast, The Flash, Astro City, and No Hard Feelings. The biggest movie of the year, the biggest movies of the year, such as Mission Impossible 7, Barbie, and Oppenheimer, will likely overpower Indiana Jones 5. So that's kind of what they're saying is the reason that it failed so miserably, because it's in this tiny little slot between all these massive movies. I mean, Oppenheimer's going to be enormous. Mission Impossible is probably going to be enormous as well, and so was Across the Spider-Verse. So was Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So that's kind of their explanation as to why it did not get as many eyes. Number 6 is Indiana Jones 5 did not appeal as much to younger audiences. I believe it was Ed who was saying pre-show that he went to the movie with his brother and it was all just old people. All old people who saw the original trilogy and wanted to see this one now. And it seems like Indiana Jones just doesn't click with the younger folk anymore. Indiana Jones was a huge hit. The movies are fantastic. The first 3 are amazing. They still hold up to this day. Of course, the special effects look a little stupid, but that's because they came out in the 80s. But it still holds up story-wise to this day. They are still fun adventure movies. But kids just don't understand that. It's not a kid-friendly movie because kids don't care. And that's reason number 6. Number 5, Indiana Jones 5's story leaks could have further put audiences off. So there was leaks about what's going on with the movie and how it involves time travel and, of course, Harrison Ford's deepfake face and stuff like that and all this other stuff. And that turned people away. Time travel turns people away. Simple as that. Avengers Endgame, they kept the time travel a secret for a good reason. If people knew that Avengers Endgame was going to have time travel involved, I feel like a lot more people would have not seen that movie. Even though they do time travel pretty well in that movie, time travel's never the answer. It's always actually the wrong answer. You look at The Flash, time travel, wrong answer. You look at Lost. Anybody watch the show Lost? Time travel, wrong answer. Like almost every show or movie that goes to time travel, it's never the right answer. Number 4, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Cannes. So that's the film festival premiere backfired for Disney. So they went to this film festival thing, this real like whatever festival thing. It was supposed to be this well-acclaimed thing. And it got a 5-minute standing ovation apparently from this festival. But the critic reviews that came out from that were bad. It was a 44 on Rotten Tomatoes almost immediately. So that did not help them one bit. 3 is a lot of major 2023 movies are underperforming at the box office. So this could be a post-pandy world. This could be the fact that a lot of movies this year just aren't doing well. But a lot of movies this year that had hype behind them, like The Flash or Fast X even, didn't perform as well as they thought. Even Transformers didn't perform as well as they thought. So maybe that's the case, but you also have movies like Super Mario Bros. That did fantastic. Super Mario Bros. Made over $1 billion. We're talking about an animated movie about Mario, and it was awesome, but yeah. Okay, number 2, the franchise already said goodbye to Indiana Jones before. So yeah, Crystal Skull already said goodbye. That's the other thing. They're just literally, this movie just seems like it was for money at this point. And number 1, Indiana Jones needs a full reboot more than it needs Harrison Ford. Pretty much just saying Harrison Ford should be done with Indiana Jones and they should have rebooted, but they didn't. They tried to just keep playing out this story of Indiana Jones. Now I think they should just let it die. Create a new story. Indiana Jones is done. He had his trilogy and then you tried to do his Crystal Skull, didn't work. Leave it at that. Indiana Jones, done. It's a great character. Don't need any more of it. Done. Instead, they tried to make a 5th movie and it's flopping, it's failing miserably. They put $300 million into it and it's going to lose an insane amount of money. So with all this being said now, with all these reasons as to why this movie is going to fail, this just solidifies the fact that I know in my heart that Kathleen Kennedy will be fired very, very soon. Now, I still have the bet up that, and if you guys are new here, that by the end of this year, if Kathleen Kennedy is not fired, then I will be giving away a lightsaber, a free lightsaber on the channel, on a live stream, giving away a free lightsaber, and maybe I'll give away multiple ones. That's how certain I am that this lady will be gone, is I'm giving away free $100 items just left and right because I know she'll be gone and I won't have to do any of that. Now, we will be doing giveaways on the channel very, very soon because we're so close. We're so close to getting to that monetization mark where we can do giveaways, and that's honestly the most important thing to me. I just want to do giveaways so badly for events, especially Ahsoka. Ahsoka's coming around. I want to give away Ahsoka pop figures. I want to give away Ahsoka lightsabers. I want to give away everything. But that's just for another time, I guess. But with all that being said, that bet is still up in the air. Kathleen Kennedy will be fired by the end of this year, or else I'm giving away lightsabers. Multiple. That's how certain I am. That's how certain I am. All right, here we go. What do you guys think? Austin Snow says, oh, please don't see Indiana Jones. I'm sorry, but Indiana Jones was just that bad. And Austin is somebody who went and saw this movie, by the way. Star Wars Politics says, why in the world would they announce the Mangold movie before Indiana Jones was released? They should have waited to see if it would flop. Kathleen doesn't learn any lessons. Could not have said it better myself, Politics. I could not have said it better myself. Kathleen Kennedy has never learned a single lesson ever. The Flash did this same exact thing. The director of The Flash is Andrew Meneseni, something weird like that. He's got a funny name. They announced right before The Flash came out that he was going to direct the next Batman movie. Not Pattinson, but the next DCU Batman movie. To get hype for the Flash movie. That was the way that they thought that they could get more hype for the Flash movie, was to say that this director is going to be directing the next Batman movie. So what they do, Kathleen Kennedy didn't learn any lessons from anything ever before. She says that James Mangold is going to be directing a Dawn of the Jedi movie, and that was supposed to get more hype for the Indiana Jones movie, and that didn't work because it never works, and the Indiana Jones movie bombed, and now she has to come up with an excuse as to why either the movie bombed and James Mangold's still a great director and is still going to do Dawn of the Jedi, or a reason as to why they are firing James Mangold from a Star Wars movie, and we are no longer going to be getting the Dawn of the Jedi. It's a disaster. That's what it is. It's a disaster. Captain Cisco, what's up, Captain? Says, Captain. Captain Cisco says, Kathleen Kennedy must pay the price for her lack of vigilance. Yes. Yeah, with her job. I mean, she's already killed all of our hopes and dreams. Just let her go, please. Enough's enough at this point. Indiana Jones, gone. Willow, gone. Star Wars, broken into shattered pieces. Just let her go, please. Captain Cisco follows up and says, number one, Kathleen Kennedy sucks. That should have been number one on the list. I agree with you. Yes. He follows up and says, it's too late to fire Kathleen Kennedy. The damage is done. Okay, well then, do you want to just keep her around? Here's my problem with that statement, and I'm not coming after you, Captain. Don't worry, Captain. She has to be fired. There needs to be a change, or the brand is just going to keep tumbling down. Like, here was Lucasfilm with George Lucas as president. Then it sold to Disney, and Kathleen Kennedy became president. It was okay. I mean, merchandise was good for a while. Then The Force Awakens comes out. Kind of stays up here. And then once The Last Jedi hits, comes tumbling down the hill. But it's a very large hill. So we're sitting about right here on the hill. This is the top of the hill. This is where we are. We don't want to be down here. So at some point, we have to put a wedge into this thing falling down the hill and take Kathleen Kennedy, remove her from it, and put somebody at the bottom to push it back up the hill. Whether that's Dave Filoni, whether that's Jon Favreau, whether that's anybody else. We need someone else to help fix the problem. Because there is a problem, and it needs to be fixed. You're not going to fix a problem by keeping Kathleen Kennedy around. Star Wars Politics says, I'm afraid they won't fire Kathleen Kennedy. That's my biggest nightmare. Every night when I go to sleep, if I have a nightmare that night, it is Kathleen Kennedy remaining as the president of Lucasfilm. I wake up and I have to do a live stream where I'm giving away lightsabers because Kathleen Kennedy is still president of Lucasfilm. That is my worst nightmare. In all seriousness, yes. It's tough. She's lasted this long. The whole sequel trilogy debacle, the whole Willow debacle, this whole Indiana Jones debacle, she's survived all of it. At what point is enough enough? Or is never enough? Is she just going to keep this job until she goes to the grave? What is going on over at Lucasfilm? Biggest nightmare. Star Wars Politics follows up and says, I think the fear may be we don't know who will replace. Nobody wants the job, and somebody who would likely be someone they will have to gamble on. Yes, that is definitely one of the big problems, is nobody wants that job. That's probably still why Kathleen Kennedy is the president, because she's so crazy to still want that job. There's nobody else right now that wants that job. Nobody in their right mind. Here's my pick. I'm creating a video all about this right now. And my pick for next president of Lucasfilm is the vice president of Lucasfilm. If you guys are unfamiliar who that is, it's Doug Chiang. Doug Chiang. You look him up, you can't even find images of him online. He is the GOAT, okay? This is the guy who was he was a creative director for ILM during the Terminator movies, during Terminator Judgment Day, during The Mask with Jim Carrey, during Forrest Gump. He created or worked on a lot of those movies. And then in 1995, he became, what was the title of his job? Hang on, 1 second. I have it written down right here. 1 second. He was, where was this? Where is this? I literally wrote it down like 2 seconds ago. In 1995, he helped. Oh, yeah. He became the leader at Lucasfilm of the arts department. He's been working on the prequel trilogy. He worked on the Clone Wars. He worked on the sequel trilogy. And he's worked his way all the way up to be executive creative director at Lucasfilm and vice president of Lucasfilm. Doug Chiang is the guy. He's the guy. He is probably the only guy. And he might want the job. He's the vice president right now. He might just say, okay, I'll become the president. And he might be the best thing for Star Wars fans because he, one, worked under George Lucas, worked on the prequel trilogy, and has been seeing all the problems as they come with Kathleen Kennedy. Now, we don't know much about this guy, but from what we do know is he is a content-first guy. He's not a political guy at all. He just cares that they're making good Star Wars content. Doug Chiang, and as more research I've done about the guy, and as more for this video I'm creating right now, he is the guy. Simple as that. He is the only solution, the one and only. So Swagger Like Us says, great choice. I love Doug Chiang. Doug Chiang's concept art. Yeah, so he did all the concept art for The Mandalorian. Or not all of it, but a lot of the concept art for The Mandalorian. He is the guy. And right now, he's the only guy. Because nobody else wants that job. Nobody. Maybe he doesn't even want that job, but he might just reluctantly take it. I don't know. But let's get into, let's go back to that Rebel Moon talk here. So do you guys know what Rebel Moon is? Tell me in the chat. You guys know what Rebel Moon is? Rebel Moon. Zack Snyder. Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon is a new IP, okay? It's a new IP from Zack Snyder. Now, Zack Snyder was the guy who created Batman vs. Superman, Man of Steel, the Justice League. He is the guy over at DC, or was the guy until he got let go, whatever you want to call it. But originally, he created this thing. He's been creating it for 20 years, whatever. He created this IP, but originally it was a pitch to Star Wars. He wanted to make a Star Wars movie, and his pitch was this Rebel Moon story. He went to Kathleen Kennedy, and she said, ha, ha, no, as Kathleen Kennedy does. So he went to Netflix. Netflix said, sure, we'll do it. Yeah, why not? We want to make money. We like money. So now it comes out this November or December. I think it comes out this December. But it could beat out Disney Star Wars. It's going to be a 2-part movie, I think, or maybe a 3-part movie. I'm not sure. But it's going to be very Star Wars-esque, very Seventh Samurai-esque, with an empire or an imperium, whatever you want to call it, whatever they're calling it. It's going to have these 7 samurais. It's going to be all this cool stuff. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be Zack Snyder. It's going to be fantastic. And it could have been a Star Wars movie if it weren't for Kathleen Kennedy. But let's read on. Well, first, let's see what you guys said. Star Wars Politics says, when does Star Wars IP patent end? And will that be bad? I actually have no idea. And yes, that will be terrible. But that will be a disaster. Might cause for some very bad things. All right, let's read this article. Why Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon didn't become a Star Wars movie. I knew it was a big ask. So that's what Snyder says. So, I'm sure you're wondering, who is this? This is one of the 7 samurais, or so, one of the main characters of the movie. And as you can tell, she has some sort of lightsaber-esque looking blades. And this character actually, like, her planet, they have to chop off their arms, and she gets metal arms. And it's like a lava blade almost. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. This movie's gonna be insane. This whole universe is gonna be insane. He's making shows, movies, animated shows, and video games all around this IP. So it's gonna be a big IP. So, is that good? Let's move this over actually, because you guys, I'm blocking it. I'm blocking the text. There we go. That's better. A long time ago, Zack Snyder might have joined the galaxy far, far away. As the director embarked on his journey with DC, another possible landmark saga was calling his name. And while it never came to fruition, the idea for a Star Wars movie actually became his upcoming Rebel Moon, an original multi-part sci-fi epic. It's a multi-part sci-fi epic because it'll be epic. If it's involved in the intervening years since Snyder's first pitch to Lucasfilm, well, in post-production of Man of Steel, the initial idea remains the same. It was a 7th samurai in space. He tells Empire in our world exclusive Rebel Moon cover story. So Empire Magazine is doing an exclusive cover of this new IP. And a Star Wars movie was my original concept for it. So originally it was a Star Wars movie. This is Zack Snyder confirming this himself. Well, Snyder's conception of the Star Wars film, ow, what the heck was that? Ow. Ouch. Paid homage to the work that inspired George Lucas was a compelling concept. I knew that the origins for George were a lot of those Kurosawa films. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, Kurosawa, says the director. Kurosawa he's the director of Seventh Samurai. Seventh Samurai was this big, old Japanese film, and it's an unbelievable film, still stands to this day. But it's about this village that's being bombarded by these raiders, and so one of the villagers goes out to get these 7 samurai to help protect their village, and that's just kind of how the story goes, you know. Where was I? There were many reasons why Rebel Moon never panned out as a part of the cinema's most famous space opera. The sale of Lucasfilm to Disney had just happened. So this is back in 2013, says Snyder. There was a window where, you know, who knows what's possible. This was before the sequel trilogy was really a thing. I was like, I don't want any of your characters. I don't want anything to do with any known characters. I just want to do my own thing on the side. So he kind of wanted to do the first ever side project away from the Skywalker saga and his own new characters, not involving any of the original cast, not involving any legacy characters. His own story just takes place in the Star Wars galaxy. And originally I was like, it should be rated R, and that's probably what kind of turned them away. And that was almost a non-starter. Yeah, Star Wars is not supposed to be rated R. Now, it still remains to be seen if Rebel Moon will be rated R, but it is definitely going to be on the darker side. A decade later, Snyder has developed his original title and is getting to make it exactly how he sees it. I knew it was a big ask, to be honest, he says, of making a film within the Star Wars galaxy. But the deeper I got into it, I realized it was probably never going to be what I wanted. Instead, he conjured up his own universe across multiple movies, which, after initially releasing on Netflix in family-friendly cuts, will get harder-edged R-leaning versions too. Talk about a happy ending. So this is the cover, by the way. All these characters look spectacular. I know we're not talking about Star Wars right now, but this is Star Wars adjacent. So these are your main cast of characters. That's the lady with the plasma blade looking things with the metal arms. This blaster right here looks sick. That blaster right there looks sick. This is the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy. Kind of looks like Groot over there, but it's not. So yeah, that's what the dealio is with this Rebel Moon. It was supposed to be a Star Wars movie. Now, it was going to be darker. It was not going to involve any of the original cast. What the hell? That was annoying me. So what do we think about that? Do you think that, first of all, Kathleen Kennedy missed out big time on this? Zack Snyder making a Star Wars movie would have been enormous at the time after coming off the legs of Man of Steel. It would have been huge. Obviously, she was in the works of making the sequel trilogy, but there was also spin-off movies in the works. Solo, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Boba Fett spin-off movie. Like, there were spin-offs already in the works. Why couldn't Zack Snyder get one of these spin-off movies? Anybody? Can anybody please help me out there? Swaggerliga says Star Wars is the best modern mythology. It's the perfect genre mix of sci-fi, western, fantasy, noir, action film, heist, spy thriller, samurai, all in one. Avatar and Infinity War borrow this concept. Yes, Star Wars is almost everything combined into one galaxy far, far away. And that's what George Lucas kind of wanted to do. It is kind of based off of Kurosawa's old films. It is still based off of what the hell's that, like, serial comic, whatever, the space thing, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. It's based off of all those different things. But it all exists in a universe that's so far away that we can't get to it. It's so back in time that we can't go there. It is a fictional place that we can escape to with characters that we know and love, with characters that we have strong attachments to, that we can relate to. But again, they don't exist. Austin's back. What's up, Austin? Ed says, I will pass on Rebel Moon. Really? You're not going to watch it? What if it's enormous? What if it's this huge, massive success? What if it's the next Star Wars? You still going to not watch it, Ed? There still hasn't been a trailer yet. We still haven't really gotten much except for, like, character descriptions and stuff, so it's still very far out. But you never know. It could be the next Star Wars. Austin says, the Book of Boba Fett wasn't great, but it was perfect? What? You lost me there, Austin. I have no idea what you're talking about. Quite literally no idea. Oh, we do have this other thing to. Oh, this guys, this is extremely important. This is breaking news. Holy crap, guys! Wait, what? This actually happened, guys. Breaking news as of right now in the Star Wars galaxy or Star Wars universe. This is insane. Are you ready? This is breaking news as of this very minute. Are you ready? Holy crap. I can't believe this just happened while we were live. You guys ready? Breaking news. Breaking news. Are we ready? Yes, all right, Austin's ready. All right, that's enough. Austin's ready, I'm ready. Whew. Guys, this is insane. Okay. All right, sorry. There was no breaking news. I apologize for misleading you. That was just too funny. Sorry. I forgot that I had that tab opened, so it caught me off guard. Okay. All right. In seriousness, here we go. A lot of people were asking recently when we were talking about the new Star Wars Star Wars game from Ubisoft, the open world game, Star Wars Outlaws. A lot of people were like, Mike, where the hell is Star Wars Eclipse? So, this is all just a rumor for now. It has not been confirmed, but this is a rumor for now. And here is what we know about Star Wars Eclipse. And this is coming very recently. So Star Wars Eclipse finally gets an update because everybody's been talking about Star Wars Eclipse. Oh, well, that you can't see that. So Star Wars Eclipse is targeting a 2026 release date. Now, a lot of people were like, when are we getting Star Wars Eclipse? The trailer for that game was so unbelievably cool, dropped out of nowhere with no release date. And everybody was like, when are we getting that game? It looked awesome. And now we might finally be getting a 2026 release date, which now is only a few years away. It is 3 years away, but we'll have Star Wars Outlaws next year, and then maybe we'll get another Star Wars the year after that. We just hit double digits. Thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are the absolute best. Smash a gosh darn like on this. But let's get into this article right here. So, Inside Gaming sources, so again, it is just a rumor for now. Just a rumor for now. Have revealed that Star Wars Eclipse developers, developed by Quantic Dream, is targeting a tentative 2026 release date, but it could be delayed further. The news comes from the same source that revealed Chinese tech giant would be acquiring Quantic Dream 6 months before it officially announced. So yeah, Quantic Dream was actually bought out by a Chinese tech company, but this game, Star Wars Eclipse, is still in the works. Sources once again restate that Quantic Dream struggles to hire staff following allegations from workplace issues. Yeah, that was a whole thing too. There was the whole workplace issues, blah, blah, blah. But including, we won't go into that. It doesn't matter, whatever. Blah, 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 blah. It's understood that due to the scope of the Star Wars Eclipse and allegation issues with hiring staff, the game could be delayed further from its 2026 target. But because of such date, there's no but there. I don't know why I said but. Because of such date targets, Star Wars Eclipse is likely the most far out Star Wars game that has been announced so far. There are 6 announced Star Wars games in development that aren't yet to release. Star Wars Eclipse is described as a new action adventure, multiple characters, branching narrative games, setting in the High Republic era. Is Anthony still in the chat? Anthony, High Republic era of the iconic Star Wars galaxy. Now early in development in late 2022. That's the details that we got from that. So this is every Star Wars game in development right now. So you have Star Wars Outlaws by Ubisoft, which has gotten a 2024 release date. You have this Amy Hengen's game, which is being made by Sundance Media. Sundance made what'd they make? What'd Sundance make? That big game. What's Sundance made? Huh? Sundance. I can't remember. An untitled first person shooter game by Respawn is in the works too. That actually got a recent update. I forget when, but that could be coming a lot sooner than people think. That is by Respawn, who gave us Jedi Survivor, so that could be good. Star Wars Eclipse, of course, we just talked about. Knights of the Old Republic remake, which is on hold right now. We don't know anything about this game, but hopefully it is still in the works. Star Wars Hunters, which is like a stupid like mini game type thing, and a Star Wars strategy game, which is also at Respawn. Respawn is really into the Star Wars games right now, and I'm sure Jedi Survivor is going to get another a third installment to the Jedi games. So yeah, you got a bunch of Star Wars games in the work, and people who love the Star Wars video games, I'm sure, are very excited about that, because when EA had the license to Star Wars games, we got Jedi Fallen Order and 2 Battlefront games, 3 Star Wars video games in 13 years? No, 10 years, something like that. So yeah, 3 in 10 years as opposed to 1 every year. 1 Star Wars game a year is perfect. It's perfect. It's not oversaturating the gamers. It's not too much. It's perfect. And if different studios are making each individual project, then you're going to have all these great Star Wars video games by different studios, all these different storylines, all these different types of video games, multiplayer games, first-person shooter games, story games, all that stuff. So yeah. What's worse than Kathleen Kennedy? Austin Snow. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, you mean like the whole. All right, I think that is all for Star Wars news. Anybody else got anything else you want to talk about today? That was me stretching, by the way. EA is worse than Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, EA is the worst. But they don't have the license anymore, so we're going to get a lot more Star Wars video games as well. All right, I think I'm going to get on out of here because I'm pretty sure that's all we have to talk about. I really have to pee because I drank all this water, and it's just not. It's not a good plan. I don't know. You guys are the absolute best for sticking around for this stream. Don't forget to smash a like on this video. We'll have a stream, of course, on Thursday. There is a video coming out tomorrow about Din Djarin, and Pedro Pascal, and whether or not we will ever see Din Djarin's face again in a season 4 or even in Dave Filoni's Heir to the Empire movie. That video is coming out at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow, so watch out for that video. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited for that video. I think it's one of my best so far, and right now I'm currently working on that video that Swagger Like Us is talking about. I like your Doug Chain pitch for president of Lucasfilm, Mike, and I do agree with that, and I'm making an entire video on that as well. Austin Snow, I love you too, buddy, and Swagger Like Us, happy 4th to you all. I forgot to do anything 4th related. I would have wore like red, white, and blue or something, but I forgot it was the 4th until like 2 minutes before showtime, so I didn't really have any chance to do anything. But regardless, you guys are the absolute best. Have a great rest of your 4th. Go cook up some nice barbecue. I'm probably going to go work on this video. But yeah, have a great rest of your evening. May the Force be with you guys also, and may the Force be with you always. What a great stream. What a great show. Have a great rest of your evening. Have a great rest of your lives. And good night, everybody. Yeah.